appreciate the time to sit down and go over some things.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you're just talking about not being real clear on chords and keys and stuff like that. So, like, what are some songs that you've liked playing and stuff? Well, you got Al Stewart's autograph on there, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. Muriel Anderson.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool.
So, yeah, I didn't think about that the first day. Who was the first?
Alex DeGrasse.
Yeah, I didn't get Alex to sign it. And it just didn't dawn on me that that's something.
These guys have such great autographs too.
Yeah, they do. They've done it a few times.
Yeah,
you can read it.
Yeah, you can read it. That's amazing. Alex DeGrasse's you can't read. It's a real scripty thing. He's on the banner. I don't know where it is. It's rolled up. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, so he took up a big spot on the banner.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So do you play bar chords okay? I mean, you play songs that have bar chords in them? Is that not so big a deal? Good.
You were telling me at the camp because I was playing Powderfinger.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was not getting it.
Right, and then you're doing the bar first there. That looks like it's not 100% comfortable.
Well, I
yet,
did it because I know you say to do that. Yeah. You're sitting right here. But I still, when I kind of get into out of the habit, I end up fingering the. So
you know what else might help is if you bar it up just a little higher, like if you had your first finger, you might. It might take less pressure to get a little bit better force against the strings with this part of your finger than you do with this part. You've got better leverage, more pressing against. Like even just that. Now that's probably you probably adjusted about 1/8 of an inch, and because what that does, it lets this finger get straighter. If you've got it down, too low, it can be a little bit bent like this, almost in a hinge bar. And you've got to make sure that knuckle is pretty straight. So you want to kind of have the strings. Yeah.
Well, one of the subjects for me is breaking bad habits. I know you've talked about that before. The other problem I get is the baseball grip.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when I think about getting it into proper position, then I start missing the chords.
Yeah.
I guess I'm used to the old.
One of the things that it does, by having your thumb a little bit lower, it does make you control a little bit longer range of muscles. It's kind of like if you've got your hand boxed up like this, you only have to use a tiny percentage, let's say, of the muscles to move those fingers. And as soon as you get down here, you have longer control of them, which makes it a little bit less accurate at first. It'd be like maybe trying to knock a ping pong ball off a tee with a long fishing rod or something like that. And the shorter the rod is, the easier chance you have of doing it. So if you just think about keeping your hand a little lower, I mean, this looks great. It doesn't even have to be that much. Like, you don't have to force it that much. When you play a bar chord, it kind of forces it into that. Now that looks great, what you just did right there, that little adjustment of coming up a little higher. Yeah. And another thing, and you're doing this already really well too, is when you're playing bar chords, it's just really important to be as close to the frets as possible. You can get away with a little more slop when you're playing an open chord, because you're really first of all, you're always just using the tips of your fingers on those chords, and it doesn't take as much pressure like this as it does like this to get notes clean. So as soon as this bar is trying to push down like this, it takes a lot more strength in your hand to make that work.
Well, one of the things that's puzzled me is simple songs that have several of these chords. How do you know which key it's in?
Yeah.
Because you may have the G, you may have the C, you may have the D, and E.
Yeah.
Different sequence. Which key is that?
Yeah. So
is it first?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
The rule of thumb is, where's it going to end? Where could you stop?
Probably not there.
Probably not there. See, as soon as you hit that, it's like that's taking me somewhere else.
The G is a pretty common ending.
Yeah. So for that set, you're probably in the key of G. Okay. And not all of those chords are actually in the key of G, but 3 of them were, and that's what happened. G, C, and D are in the key of G. We'll get to all that in just over the next few minutes, because it really is kind of easy to have tabs on that and to have a grip on it without. So anyway, hopefully I can demystify a lot of stuff for you right now. Work on other picking techniques. Don't Fear the Reaper is one of the songs that I tell everybody they always have to learn. Have you tried that one at all yet?
No.
Okay, let's spend a minute on it, because what happens in that one is it starts with an A minor chord. Yeah, and you don't even need this finger. You're not even going to play that string. Okay, but what it is it's arpeggios down here. We're hitting 4 notes in a row on each chord. And then the last note is that same string open. Same string you just played, the G.
Same one.
Yeah. So try it again. And then alternate downs and ups on each stroke. Yeah. Try with your little finger down here rather than your fourth. Yeah. I mean rather than your third. Yeah. So this way. Yeah. And again, alternate downs and ups. So the second one's an up. Yeah. Yeah. Now, it will go a little bit slower because what you have to do is get to the next chord, which is just the two lowest notes of a G chord. So, here's where we are with this. Power chords are two notes with just the root and the fifth of a scale, and there's an example of a G power chord, and it would be G and D. A major chord has three notes, though, and they're 1, 3, and 5 of the scale, so that's why our D chord had F sharp in it. Okay? And then we took that one step further, and then minor had a flatted third. So that's where we had an F in our D chord rather than F sharp. Okay, so that's how this would be like the formula for that. So every major chord is always made up of 1, 3, and 5 of that scale. That's kind of the important thing. And so there easily could be sharps or flats involved if there are sharps or flats involved in that scale. And in this case, the flatted third turns out to be an F natural because F sharp is the third that's in the scale. Right? So we touched on a C chord, and we found that the notes in C would be, the root would be C. The third, again, would be what? Of the C scale. E. You hear there's the same sound. Now, this will probably be the last thing I tell you today because I know we're about to melt down. But do you hear that same sound? Okay, that's our 1, 4, 5, 1. Okay? So practice playing that in all those keys. Okay? And here's the one piece of info I didn't give you that makes, as awkward as that B chord is, when people write songs in the key of E, but this is really true in any key, chord 5, so B would be 5 in E, right? Chord 5 is frequently, if not more commonly than not, played not just as a major chord, but played as a 7th chord. So if we were in, so look in here in G, like play G again, which would be G to C to D. Now instead of D, play D7 when you get there. Remember which one D7 is? And go to C then, and then D7, and then back to G. You hear that D7 gives an even better kind of pull back to the D than D does, or back to the G. That's what 7th chords do, and they usually fall on step 5 of the scale. So now that's a minor 7. That's a different animal.
Okay.
But B7, there's an open way to play B7.
Don't know that.
Ah, okay.